The Instagram notification came through while I was in a session with Marcus, one of our long-term residents at New Pathways Recovery Center. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket but ignored it. This was Marcus's fourth month clean, and we were discussing his plan to reconnect with his daughter. The phone buzzed again. Then again. When the session ended and Marcus left with a hopeful smile I hadn't seen on his face in years, I finally checked my phone. My brother Tyler had posted a carousel of photos. The first image showed our family's lakefront cabin in Muskoka, the one I'd bought 8 years ago with money Grandma Ellen left me. The second photo showed a sold sign photoshopped onto the driveway. The third was a screenshot of a purchase agreement. $1.3 million. Closing date: August 18th, 2 weeks from now. The caption read, "Finally closed the Bennett family estate sale. $1.3 million for the Muskoka property. Buyers tearing down the old cabin to build their dream home. This is what smart real estate investing looks like. Commission alone will cover the down payment on my new condo. Thanks to everyone who said I'd never make it as an agent. Watch me now." The comments were already loading. "Mom, so proud. Always knew you'd make something of yourself." "Dad, about time someone in this family understood real estate." Tyler's girlfriend Vanessa, "Babe, we can finally book Turks and Caicos." My younger sister Emma, "Can I be your client when I'm ready to buy?" You clearly know what you're doing. I sat in my small office at the recovery center, staring at my phone. The afternoon sun coming through the window suddenly felt too bright. The cabin wasn't the Bennett family estate, it was mine. I'd bought it in 2017, with $420,000 from Grandma Ellen's inheritance, money she'd left specifically to me because, as she wrote in her will, "Sarah has the heart to build something meaningful, even if the others can't see it yet." The memory arrived sharp and clear. Christmas dinner, 2017. I'd just bought the cabin. I was 22, fresh out of my social work degree, starting my first job at New Pathways. Tyler was 29, 3 years into his real estate career, always talking about his deals that never quite materialized. "You spent 400 grand on a cabin?" Tyler had laughed, almost choking on his wine. "Sarah, that's not an investment, that's a money pit. Do you have any idea what property taxes and maintenance cost on lakefront?" Dad had shaken his head. "This is exactly why Ellen should have left that money in a trust. Sarah, you need to talk to a financial advisor before you waste the rest." Mom had patted my hand with this sad smile. "Honey, you have such a good heart. But business isn't about feelings." "Tyler, why don't you explain to your sister how real estate actually works?" I hadn't argued. I'd learned by then that defending yourself to people who've already decided you're naive just exhausts you. So I'd smiled, said maybe you're right, and never brought up the cabin again at family dinners. What they didn't know, what I'd never told them, was that the cabin wasn't my only property. Over the next 8 years, while working at New Pathways, I'd bought 4 more rental properties: a duplex in Scarborough, a triplex in Hamilton, a small commercial building in Etobicoke that I rented to a physiotherapy clinic, another duplex in Oshawa. All bought carefully, all renovated slowly, all paid off years ahead of schedule. My rental income was $14,000 a month. My day job salary was $58,000 a year. I didn't need my day job financially. I kept it because the work mattered. Because seeing someone like Marcus smile about reconnecting with his daughter mattered more than any real estate deal. But my family didn't know any of this. They thought I was a struggling social worker with one money pit cabin I'd foolishly bought with inheritance money. And every family dinner for 8 years, they'd made sure I knew how naive I was. "Still hanging on to that cabin?" Tyler would ask every Thanksgiving. "I could list it for you. Get you out before you lose your shirt on maintenance." "Sarah's too sentimental," Mom would say at Easter. "She doesn't understand that property is an investment, not a keepsake. Remember when I tried to explain cap rates to you?" Tyler had said last Christmas, turning to his girlfriend Vanessa. She looked at me like I was speaking Greek. "Some people just aren't wired for business." I'd smiled through it all. Let them think what they wanted. Built my portfolio in silence. And now Tyler had apparently sold my cabin, my property, listed it, found a buyer, negotiated a deal, all without my knowledge or consent. The property in my name, the property he had absolutely no legal right to sell. I took screenshots of everything, the Instagram post, the comments, the purchase agreement visible in his photo. Then I opened my email and searched for a name I'd saved months ago. Christine Wu. Christine was a real estate lawyer, one of the best in Toronto. I'd met her 6 months ago when her nephew Daniel had come to New Pathways, 16 years old and already deep into opioid addiction. Daniel had been one of my cases. 6 months of therapy, family sessions, relapse prevention planning. He'd graduated from our program in June, clean and planning to start college in September. Christine had cried when she hugged me at Daniel's graduation ceremony. "You saved his life," she'd said. "If there's ever anything I can do for you, anything at all, please ask." I'd told her it was just my job, that seeing Daniel succeed was payment enough. She'd pressed her business card into my hand anyway. I found her email and drafted a message. Subject line: Urgent. Fraudulent property transaction. 247 Lakeshore Road, Muskoka. I attached Tyler's Instagram screenshots, a photo of my original deed from 2017, 8 years of property tax receipts in my name, and the insurance documents showing me as the sole owner. I explained that my brother was a real estate agent who had somehow listed my property without my knowledge or consent, that he was claiming it as a family estate sale when it was solely owned by me. That closing was in 2 weeks. I hit send at 4:47 p.m. on Tuesday. Christine called my cell at 6:23 p.m. "Sarah." Her voice was warm but professional. "I just read your email. I'm looking at the MLS listing right now. The property at 247 Lakeshore Road, Muskoka. It's listed under Tyler Bennett's brokerage, claiming to be an estate sale for the Bennett family. Closing date is August 18th. The buyer is an American developer planning to demolish and rebuild." "I know," I said quietly. "He posted about it on Instagram this afternoon like it was some big victory." "Sarah." Christine's voice dropped lower. "The listing agreement I'm seeing. It has a signature claiming to be yours, authorizing Tyler as your agent. Is that your signature?" "No." The silence stretched for 3 seconds. In the background, I heard papers shuffling. "I'm pulling the property records right now," Christine said. "You purchased this property in August 2017 for $420,000. You're listed as the sole owner. You've paid property taxes continuously for 8 years. There's no record of any power of attorney granted to Tyler Bennett. There's no record of you ever attempting to sell. And this signature on the listing agreement doesn't match the signature on your deed." "What happens now?" I asked. "Now?" Christine's voice went cold in a way that reminded me she was one of the most feared real estate lawyers in Toronto. "Now I call my buyer client and inform them they're about to purchase a property from someone who doesn't own it. Then I call the police and report fraud. Then I call the Real Estate Council of Ontario because Tyler's about to lose his license. And then I call your brother and explain that he's looking at criminal charges." "Christine, you don't have to." "Sarah." Her voice softened. "My nephew is alive because of you. He's going to college because of you. 6 months ago, I was planning his funeral. Now I'm helping him pick courses. You gave my family our future back. Let me help you protect what's yours." I felt something in my chest loosen. 8 years of being told I didn't understand business, didn't understand real estate, was too naive, too sentimental. And here was someone who actually understood what I'd built. "There's something else you should know," I said. "The cabin isn't my only property. I own 4 others, 2 duplexes, a triplex, and a commercial building, all paid off. My family doesn't know about any of them. They think I'm a struggling social worker who made one bad investment." Christine was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft with something like wonder. "Sarah, how much equity are you sitting on?" "About $2.4 million, and I make $168,000 a year in rental income. And your family thinks you're financially naive. They've spent 8 years making sure I know how foolish I am. Christine's exhale was sharp. Okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm stopping this sale. I'm reporting Tyler to the police and Rico. And when this is done, when he's facing charges and lost everything, your family is going to find out exactly who you are. Not from you explaining or defending yourself. They're going to find out from court documents and police reports, and the wreckage of Tyler's career. Because the paperwork is going to tell the truth they refuse to see. After we hung up, I sat in my office as the sun set. I thought about opening a spreadsheet to calculate the cost of being underestimated for 8 years, but I didn't. That accounting didn't matter anymore. What mattered was this. I'd built something real. And when someone tried to steal it, the truth in the paperwork became my defender. My phone buzzed. Tyler in the family group chat. Celebrating at the keg tonight. Drinks on me. This is just the beginning. Got 3 more big deals closing this quarter. Watch me work. I didn't respond. Wednesday morning, Christine called again. I spoke with the buyer's representative last night, she said. They were shocked. They had no idea Tyler didn't own the property. They thought they were buying from a legitimate family estate. I've advised them to pull out immediately and report the fraud. I've also filed a report with Toronto Police Service's Fraud Division and sent a formal complaint to RECO. What about Tyler? I called him this morning. Told him I represent you, and that the sale is not happening. He tried to bluff, said it was just a family misunderstanding, that you'd given him verbal permission. I explained that property sales require written consent and that forging your signature on a listing agreement is fraud. He hung up on me. Then he called me back 20 minutes later, panicking, asking what he needs to do to fix this. I told him he needs a criminal defense lawyer. How long before he contacts me? Based on the 6 calls he's already made to my office this morning? Christine's voice had a grim satisfaction. Very soon. She was right. Tyler called my cell at 10:15 a.m. I was in a group therapy session, so I let it go to voicemail. He called again at 10:47 a.m. Again at 11:20 a.m. At noon. At 12:35 p.m. At 1:37 p.m. By 3 p.m., he'd called 17 times. I didn't answer. Didn't listen to the voicemails. Just took screenshots of each call log and forwarded them to Christine with a note. Documentation of harassment. At 4 p.m., Mom called. Sarah, Tyler says you're trying to ruin his real estate deal over some paperwork confusion. He needs you to call the buyer's lawyer and explain that you gave him permission to list the cabin. I didn't give him permission, Mom. He forged my signature. Don't be dramatic. He's your brother. He was trying to help you finally get out of that money pit. You should be thanking him. He tried to steal $1.3 million from me. Steal? Mom's voice went sharp. That's your brother. He was going to give you the money after his commission. This is exactly why you've never been successful, Sarah. You don't understand how business works. I hung up. Dad called at 5:30 p.m. Your mother is very upset. Tyler's crying. His broker called him in for a meeting. His girlfriend is threatening to leave him. You need to fix this. I need to fix it? He made a mistake. Family forgives mistakes. Family doesn't commit fraud, Dad. You're being selfish. That cabin was bought with family money from Ellen. It should have been shared among all of you. Grandma Ellen left it specifically to me, in her will. There's nothing to share. She left it to you because she pitied you. She knew you'd never make anything of yourself. Tyler was trying to finally make something valuable from Ellen's mistake. I hung up and blocked both their numbers. Emma texted at 7 p.m. Can you just sign whatever Tyler needs? Mom's having a panic attack. He might lose his job. Is a stupid cabin really worth destroying the family? I didn't respond. Thursday morning, Detective Williams from Toronto Police Service's Fraud Division called my cell. Miss Bennett, I'm investigating a complaint regarding attempted fraudulent sale of your property at 247 Lakeshore Road. Do you have time to provide a statement? I had time. The interview took 2 hours. I provided everything. My original purchase documents from 2017. 8 years of property tax receipts. Insurance records. The listing agreement with the forged signature. Tyler's Instagram post celebrating the sale. Christine Wu's affidavit confirming she'd caught the fraud during due diligence. Screenshots of Tyler's 17 missed calls. My parents' voicemails saying I should just let him have it and stop being difficult. Detective Williams was thorough. Your brother is looking at multiple charges. Forgery for faking your signature on the listing agreement. Fraud over $5,000 for attempting to sell property he doesn't own. Possibly theft over $5,000 if we can prove intent to keep the commission. We're talking potential prison time, criminal record, and he'll definitely lose his real estate license. What about the buyer? They've filed a complaint with RICO against your brother and his brokerage. They're also considering civil action for their costs. We're talking inspection fees, legal fees, and potential damages for other properties they lost out on while pursuing this one. When will charges be filed? We're presenting to the Crown Attorney tomorrow. Assuming they approve, your brother will be arrested by Monday. After the interview, I drove to the recovery center. Marcus had his one-year sobriety celebration that afternoon. 12 residents, staff members, and family in our small ceremony room. Marcus's daughter showed up. She was 15, shy, holding a card she'd made. When Marcus saw her, he cried. She cried. They hugged for a long time while everyone else respectfully looked away. After the ceremony, as I was helping clean up, my phone buzzed with an email from Christine. Buyer has officially withdrawn. Tyler's brokerage has suspended him pending investigation. RICO has opened a formal complaint. Buyer is suing Tyler personally for $47,000 in costs. Your brother's career is over. More importantly, your property is safe. Christine. I forwarded the email to Detective Williams for his file. Friday afternoon, Tyler showed up at New Pathways. The receptionist called my extension. Sarah, your brother is here. He says it's an emergency. I walked out to the lobby. Tyler looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. He stood up when he saw me. Sarah, please, I need to talk to you. No. 5 minutes. Just listen. I can fix this. There's nothing to fix, Tyler. You tried to sell my property. You forged my signature. You're being investigated by police. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is fraud. I was trying to help you. His voice cracked. That cabin is just sitting there. You don't even use it. I could have sold it, taken my commission, given you the rest. Everyone would have won. Except I didn't agree to sell. And it's my property. Because Grandma Ellen gave it to you. Tyler's voice rose. The receptionist tensed, reaching for the phone. That wasn't fair. She left you everything because you played the good granddaughter. I deserved some of that money too. Grandma Ellen left me that money because she trusted me to build something meaningful with it. Not spend it on bottle service and condo down payments. She was right to trust me, and wrong to trust you. Sarah, the police called me. I'm being arrested Monday. I'm going to have a criminal record. I'll lose my license. Vanessa left me. My broker fired me. Mom won't stop crying. You have to drop the charges. I'm not dropping anything. Please. Tyler's eyes filled with tears. Real or fake, I couldn't tell. You're my sister. Brothers don't forge their sisters' signatures. Brothers don't try to steal $1 million. You're not my brother, Tyler. You're a criminal who happens to share my last name. And on Monday, the legal system is going to make that official. I turned and walked back to my office. Tyler shouted something behind me, but security had already moved toward him. I didn't look back. The legal proceedings moved with procedural efficiency that would have been boring, except every update was a small victory. Week 1. Tyler arrested on Monday morning at his apartment. Charged with fraud over $5,000, forgery, and criminal breach of trust. Bond set at $50,000. He posted it using Dad's money. Mom called me crying. I didn't answer. She texted, "Your brother is going to jail because of you." I blocked her. Week 2. Tyler's first court appearance. Preliminary hearing. Crown presented evidence. Forged listing agreement. My deed showing sole ownership. Bank records proving Tyler planned to deposit the commission in his personal account. Tyler's public defender asked for a plea deal. Crown denied. Week 3. Rico suspended Tyler's real estate license indefinitely pending criminal proceedings. Formal investigation opened into his brokerage for failing to verify ownership before accepting listing. Tyler's former broker publicly distanced himself, claiming Tyler acted independently and against policy. Week 4. Buyer filed civil lawsuit against Tyler for $47,000. Inspection costs, legal fees, moving costs for temporary housing they'd already paid for, and opportunity costs for other properties they'd missed while pursuing this deal. Week 5. Tyler's former brokerage filed lawsuit against Tyler for $80,000, claiming he'd damaged their reputation and exposed them to liability. They wanted compensation for legal fees and potential RICO penalties. Week 6. Emma called from a restricted number. I answered before I realized. Sarah, Tyler's living in Mom and Dad's basement. He can't find work. Vanessa won't return his calls. He's depressed. Isn't this enough? Can't you just forgive him and drop everything? Emma, he tried to steal over $1 million from me. But he's family. Then why didn't family matter when he was forging my signature? She hung up. Week 7. Tyler's defense lawyer negotiated a plea agreement. The Crown was willing to accept a guilty plea to one count of fraud over $5,000 in exchange for dropping the forgery and breach of trust charges. Sentencing recommendation: 18 months in provincial prison, followed by 2 years probation. $47,000 restitution to the buyer, $10,000 in court costs, and a permanent criminal record. Week 8. Tyler accepted the plea. Sentencing hearing scheduled for October 12th. October 12th. I sat in the back row of the courthouse. Tyler stood before the judge in a cheap suit I recognized from Emma's wedding 3 years ago. His lawyer made a statement about Tyler's remorse, his difficult childhood, his struggles with self-esteem. It was pathetic and untrue. Tyler had been the golden child his entire life. The Crown attorney presented their case. Tyler had abused his position as a licensed real estate agent. He had specifically targeted his own sister, someone he knew was unlikely to check property listings regularly because of her demanding work schedule. He had planned to pocket the $78,000 commission and likely would have stalled or refused to give me the remaining sale proceeds, claiming expenses or complications. The premeditation was clear from his Instagram post, celebrating the sale weeks before it was scheduled to close. The judge listened to everything. Then she looked at Tyler. Mr. Bennett, you're a licensed real estate professional. You understand property law. You understand the requirement for written consent. You chose to forge your sister's signature because you wanted the commission money and assumed she wouldn't find out until it was too late to stop the sale. You didn't just commit fraud against a stranger. You targeted your own sister, someone your family describes as naive about business. You exploited what you perceived as her weakness. That makes this crime particularly egregious. The judge paused, looked at the papers in front of her. I'm accepting the Crown's recommendation with one modification. Mr. Bennett, you're sentenced to 18 months in provincial prison. No suspension, no house arrest, actual incarceration. You will also pay $47,000 restitution to the buyer, $10,000 in court costs, and you're banned from holding any real estate license in Ontario for 15 years. You'll serve 2 years probation after your release. A criminal record is permanent. This conviction will follow you for the rest of your life. Tyler's face went white. His lawyer started to object, but the judge cut him off. Mr. Bennett exploited a position of trust. He targeted a family member. He showed no remorse until facing consequences. Prison time is appropriate and necessary. The bailiff moved toward Tyler. He looked back into the gallery, found me in the back row. Our eyes met. I didn't look away, didn't smile, didn't show anger, just looked at him the way I'd look at any stranger. Tyler was led out in handcuffs. I left the courthouse and drove back to New Pathways. Had a session scheduled with a new resident at 2 p.m., a 19-year-old girl named Amy who'd been living on the street for 6 months. She was scared and defensive and trying so hard to seem tough. I recognized that armor. Spent 90 minutes just getting her to trust me enough to talk about where she was sleeping. At 5 p. Emma, I drove to the Etobicoke property, the commercial building I rented to the physiotherapy clinic. They were expanding, taking over the second unit I'd had empty. We signed the new lease. Their annual rent increased from $48,000 to $94,000. They were thrilled with the space. I was thrilled they were growing. 6 months passed. Spring came to Toronto in fits and starts. Cold, then warm, then cold again. Marcus completed our program and moved into supportive housing. Got a job at a warehouse. Started attending AA meetings. His daughter visited every Sunday. Amy, the 19-year-old, was still with us. 3 months clean. Starting to talk about going back to school. Starting to smile occasionally. Daniel, Christine Wu's nephew, finished his first year of college. He sent me a photo of his grades. Dean's list. Christine called to thank me again. I told her she'd already thanked me enough by saving my cabin. Tyler served his sentence at Maplehurst Correctional in Milton. I never visited. Neither did Emma. Mom and Dad went twice before giving up. He was released after 14 months for good behavior. Moved back to their basement. Couldn't find work with a criminal record. Couldn't get his real estate license. Couldn't get his girlfriend back. Spent his days, from what Emma told me in a tentative email I didn't respond to, applying for jobs at retail stores and getting rejected once they ran his background check. The buyer never got their money back. Tyler didn't have $47,000 to give them. They settled for garnishing whatever minimum wage work he eventually found. In June, I got a call from a local news reporter. They were doing a story about real estate fraud in Ontario and wanted to interview me about Tyler's case. I declined. The story ran anyway, using court documents. Bennett family member jailed for attempting to defraud sister out of $1.3 million property was the headline on Blog.to. The article mentioned I was a social worker who had built a modest real estate portfolio through careful saving and investment. It mentioned Tyler's Instagram post celebrating the fake sale. It mentioned our parents' attempts to pressure me into dropping charges. The article went viral in Toronto real estate circles. I got a dozen interview requests. Declined all of them. I didn't need to explain myself publicly. The court record did that. What the article didn't mention, because the reporters didn't know, was the full scope of what I'd built. Not just the cabin and 4 rental properties. In April, I'd purchased property number 6, a small apartment building in Scarborough, 8 units, all rented to workers making minimum wage. I kept their rents 30% below market because they needed stability more than I needed maximum profit. In May, I'd purchased property 7, a duplex in North York that I was converting into transitional housing for New Pathways graduates. Rent-free for 6 months while they got on their feet, then rent geared to income after that. My portfolio value now sat at $3.1 million. My annual rental income was $192,000, plus my $58,000 salary from New Pathways. I'd started a scholarship fund for residents who wanted to continue their education after completing our program. The first recipient was Amy, who'd decided she wanted to become a social worker. Full tuition paid for 4 years. My family didn't know about any of this. They still thought I owned 1 cabin and worked at a nonprofit because I was too naive for real business. In July, I got a letter. Physical mail, my mother's handwriting. I almost threw it away, unopened, but curiosity won. Sarah, your father and I think enough time has passed. Tyler made a mistake, but he's paid for it. He's out of prison now and trying to rebuild his life. It's time for this family to heal. We'd like you to come to Sunday dinner. Tyler will apologize. We can all move forward. Your father's birthday is in August. It would mean a lot to him to have all his children there. Please think about what's important. Family is forever. Love, Mom. I read it twice. Then I wrote a response. Handwritten, like hers. Mom, Tyler didn't make a mistake. He committed premeditated fraud. He forged my signature with the specific intent to steal $1.3 million from me. When he was caught, he didn't apologize. He blamed me. You and Dad pressured me to drop charges to protect him from the consequences of his crime. You told me I was being selfish and difficult. You said Grandma Ellen pitied me and that Tyler was trying to fix her mistake. Here's what you don't know. The cabin isn't my only property. I own 7 properties now. Total value, $3.1 million. All paid off. I make $192,000 per year in rental income, plus my salary. I've donated over $120,000 to scholarships for recovery program graduates. I've provided free transitional housing for people rebuilding their lives after addiction. I didn't tell you any of this because every time I mentioned real estate, you laughed. Every family dinner for 8 years, you made sure I knew how naive I was, how Tyler was the successful one, how I didn't understand business. So, I stopped talking. I built quietly. When Tyler tried to steal the cabin, it wasn't just about one property. He tried to steal something I'd spent 8 years building while you all dismissed me. And when he got caught, you demanded I protect him from consequences. Family isn't people who share your blood. Family is people who show up when it matters, who see you clearly and support you honestly. You've spent 8 years showing me exactly who you are. I've spent those same years building a life that doesn't require your approval. Tyler can apologize to himself. You can heal without me. I'm not coming to Sunday dinner. Not this August. Not any August. I've blocked all of your numbers. Please don't contact me again. Sarah. I mailed it on a Wednesday. On Thursday, Emma called from yet another restricted number. Sarah, Mom is hysterical. Dad won't come out of his room. What you wrote in that letter, about owning 7 properties, about making all that money. They don't believe you. They think you're lying to make yourself feel important. Mom says you've always been jealous of Tyler, and now you're making up stories to justify what you did to him. Emma, I sent court documents proving sole ownership of the cabin. Police investigated and confirmed I own it. Property records are public. They could verify everything I said, with 20 minutes of research. If they choose not to believe me, that's their decision. Can I see you? Just for coffee? Why? Because you're my sister. Because I miss you. Because maybe I didn't understand what was really happening. I thought about it for a long moment. Emma was 6 years younger than me. She'd been 16 when I bought the cabin. 24 now. She'd grown up watching Tyler and my parents dismiss everything I did. But she'd never actively participated. She'd never defended me either, but she'd never attacked. One coffee, I said. But Emma, I need you to understand something. I'm not justifying what I did to Tyler. Tyler did something to himself. He committed a crime. I just refused to be his victim. We met at a cafe near High Park on Saturday morning. Emma showed up nervous, fidgeting with her purse. I looked up the property records, she said after we ordered. You really do own 7 properties. The apartment building in Scarborough is worth over $800,000 alone. I know what they're worth. Mom and Dad don't believe it. Tyler says you must have committed fraud yourself to acquire all that. That there's no way you made that much money working at a nonprofit. Tyler's in prison for fraud, Emma. His opinion on my finances isn't particularly credible. She laughed. A surprised, slightly shocked sound. I've never heard you talk like this. You used to just take it when they said stuff. I took it because I was building something they couldn't see. Now they tried to steal it and failed. I don't need to take anything anymore. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why didn't you ever tell us? About the other properties, the rental income. Any of it? I thought about that for a while. Sipped my coffee. Watched people walking their dogs in the park across the street. Because every time I mentioned the cabin, Tyler explained why it was a bad investment. Mom explained why I didn't understand business. Dad explained why I needed financial help. Sharing my success with people who were invested in my failure felt like handing them weapons, so I just stopped sharing. Built quietly. And honestly, Emma, it was peaceful. I didn't need their validation. I knew what I was building. Do you ever regret it? Not telling them, I mean. No, because the moment Tyler thought he could steal from me, he showed me I'd been right. He saw me as an easy target, someone too naive to notice or too weak to fight back. If he'd known about the other properties, he would have tried to steal those too. or demanded I give him money, or claimed Grandma Ellen's inheritance should have been shared. Emma was quiet. Then, he did claim that. After he was arrested, he kept saying it wasn't fair that you got everything. I didn't get everything, Emma. Grandma Ellen gave me $450,000. I turned it into $3.1 million over 8 years through careful investing and strategic property management. Tyler got $50,000 from her. He spent it on a car and bottle service within 18 months. That's not unfair. That's consequences. We sat in silence for a while. I don't think I can keep having Sunday dinners with them, Emma said quietly. Not after seeing how they treated you, how they're still treating you. Mom called you a liar yesterday. Dad said you destroyed Tyler's life out of spite. They genuinely don't understand that he committed a crime. Then don't go to Sunday dinner. They're still our parents. Being parents doesn't give them permission to be wrong, Emma. You can love them and still hold boundaries. You can acknowledge they're your family and still refuse to accept their version of reality. She nodded slowly. Can we do this again? Coffee, I mean? Maybe. But Emma, I need you to understand something. I'm not interested in rebuilding a relationship with Mom, Dad, or Tyler. If you want to have coffee with me, it's because you want a relationship with me, not because you want to be the bridge back to them. I want a relationship with you, she said. I've spent 6 months watching them spiral and realizing I don't actually know my sister at all. You built this whole life and I never noticed. I'd like to notice now, if you'll let me. I thought about it. About trust and family, and the difference between blood relations and actual relationship. About whether people could grow and change, which was the fundamental belief underlying my entire career in recovery work. Okay, I said. We can try. It's September now, almost a full year since Tyler posted that Instagram announcement. Amy graduated from New Pathways last month. She's starting college next week, social work program, full scholarship. She came by my office to say thank you. I told her the same thing I told Daniel, the same thing I tell every graduate. You did the work. I just witnessed it. Marcus has been sober for 1.5 years. His daughter stays with him every other weekend now. They're rebuilding slowly. Daniel sent me an invitation to his college graduation next spring. I've already marked it on my calendar. Emma and I have coffee every few weeks. She's starting to understand that family is something you build, not something you're born into. Tyler is working at a grocery store, bagging items at minimum wage, trying to save money for the $47,000 restitution he still owes. I heard this from Emma. I don't think about him much. Mom and Dad sent another letter. I returned it unopened. Last week, I closed on property number 8, a small house in Parkdale that I'm converting into supportive housing for women leaving domestic violence situations. Rent-free for the first year while they stabilize. Christine Wu handled the legal work pro bono, insisted on it. My portfolio value is now $3.4 million. My annual rental income is $215,000. I still work at New Pathways for $58,000 a year because the work matters more than the money. I still have therapy sessions with people who are fighting the hardest battle of their lives, fighting to reclaim themselves from addiction and trauma and the narratives other people wrote about them. I understand those narratives. I spent 8 years living inside one. The naive social worker who didn't understand business, who made one lucky real estate purchase with inheritance money, who was too sentimental, too emotional, too soft. They wrote that story about me and I let them believe it, because I was busy writing a different story. One where persistence and careful planning and quiet determination built something that didn't require their validation. One where the paperwork, the deeds, the tax records, the bank statements, all told the truth they refused to see. When Tyler tried to steal my cabin, he didn't just try to steal property. He tried to steal the proof that their narrative was wrong, that I understood business better than he did, that I'd built more wealth than he'd ever see, that Grandma Ellen hadn't pitied me, she'd recognized something in me that none of them could. And when he failed, when Christine caught the fraud and the police investigated and the courts convicted him, it wasn't just about justice. It was about vindication. The paperwork didn't just defend my property. It defended my reality against their fiction. I've learned something important over these 8 years. Something I try to teach the residents at New Pathways when they talk about families who don't believe they can stay clean, partners who don't think they can change, communities that have already written them off. You don't need permission to build a better life. You don't need approval to prove people wrong. You just need to start. Buy the first property. Take the first step. Make the first choice toward the person you know you can become. And then you keep going. Quietly. Consistently. Without explanation or justification or defense. Let them underestimate you. Let them laugh. Let them explain why you'll fail. Their doubts become your privacy. Their dismissal becomes your cover. Build in the space they're not watching because they're too busy being certain you'll never succeed. And then, if they ever try to take what you've built, let the truth speak for itself. Let the deeds, the receipts, the bank statements, the court documents, all tell the story they refuse to hear from your mouth. Because the beautiful thing about paperwork is that it doesn't argue. It just states facts. And facts don't care about family narratives or parental preferences or sibling resentment. Facts just are. I own 8 properties. I've built $3.4 million in equity. I've helped dozens of people rebuild their lives after addiction. I've created scholarships and transitional housing and opportunities for people everyone else dismissed. Tyler tried to steal one property. He's in prison. His career is destroyed. His reputation is ruined. His future is limited by a criminal record that will follow him forever. Mom and Dad demanded I forgive him to keep the family intact. They chose protecting a criminal over acknowledging his victim. They live with that choice. I chose paperwork over family approval. Legal facts over emotional manipulation. My own reality over their preferred narrative. I live with that choice too. And between those two choices, between their world and mine, I know which one I'd pick again, every single time. From 8 properties I built while they weren't watching, my future continues.